right. Well, hello, and thank you everyone for joining us today for the CIDI Enhancements training webinar. If you haven't chatted with me before, my name is Rochelle Weltsius, and I am the one that's going to be taking you through today's session. I'm actually joined virtually by some of my colleagues who may speak up during question and answer periods, or to just provide some additional clarity as we need as we go through the training, or to help me moderate some of the questions that are coming in from you guys. And they're going to be introducing themselves here shortly. Just a reminder, in an effort to increase transparency and provide greater service to our stakeholders, we are recording this webinar. It's going to be posted on our website so that you can review it in the future, and for those that aren't able to join us in person for today's call. After this training is complete, the slides are going to get posted on kaiso.com along with the recording of this training, and they can be found in the Learning Center under New Modules. So before we get started, let's start with a little bit of housekeeping today. If this is your first time using WebEx, I just want to review some of the basics of that navigation. So at the bottom of your screen, you're going to find an action bar, and I want you all to note that you are currently muted. So I've muted everyone to begin today's session, but you do have the ability to unmute yourself if you want to communicate with the group. But just as a reminder, go ahead and stay muted unless you have a question during the training. It just reduces that background noise. Also, as we progress through the training, I'm going to be stopping for question and answer periods and documenting any questions that you might have and updating the training accordingly. You can either raise your hand to alert the team that you have a question or comment, or you can simply type your question in the chat box. The chat icon is located at the bottom right-hand side of your screen, and I absolutely encourage you to ask any and all questions you have during the session. With me today, I have a co-facilitator from the ISO, Rodney Jackson. He's going to be monitoring the chat, watching background noises, and just making sure that we run smoothly today. So he might be speaking up to me if you leave a question in the chat. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and get started. And first things first, I'm going to have our subject matter expert introduce herself. So Mo, if you want to just introduce yourself and give a little background as far as why you're a subject matter expert.
Good morning, everyone. This is Mo, or Monica from the Customer Experience team. We're excited to share this 3 new enhancements with you pertaining to CIDI. I've been working with several other SMEs on our regarding CIDI, and we are constantly looking for ways to improve the transparency and performance of CIDI. So that's why we want to give you as much ability to provide feedback and also be able to use this tool to your advantage to share and submit your inquiries to us so we can improve our process. So thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Mo. And just really quickly, Rodney, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and just give a hello to everyone so they know who you are as we go through the training session. Oh, Rodney, I think we have you on mute. Oh, there we go.
Good morning, everyone. So as Rochelle said, my name is Rodney. I am on the customer readiness team, and I support all of you in your training needs. So I will be here supporting Rochelle today. And as she said, I'll be monitoring the chat. And so if you guys have a chat, you can type it into the chat box, or you can raise your hand, and I'll be able to assist you guys with answering your questions.
Fantastic. Thank you, Rodney. So let's go ahead and get started in today's training session. So here is our agenda and what we're going to go over today. We're actually going to review 3 CIDI enhancements that are going to be implemented by the ISO. We're going to talk about one of those enhancements is a new customer survey, and I want to discuss with you the response options that are allowed in that survey. So what does it look like? How do you fill it out? We're also going to review the new CIDI feature that will automatically change a ticket status when comments are added to a ticket. So this one we're really, really excited about. We're going to discuss the specific triggers that actually will change that ticket to different statuses. And then finally discuss that additional comments button and when it will and will not be available. So first, let's start with the City Customer Survey Questionnaire, the very first enhancement that we're going to go over today. So the first thing I have for you, though, is a quick poll. I want to get a sense from the group here what you guys feel with regards to customer surveys. So give me just a second. I'm going to go ahead and open this poll for you. All right, and you should be able to respond now. This is what I want to know. Are you interested in being able to provide additional information regarding the resolution of a ticket? So you have 4 options there for choices. The first one, absolutely, definitely, I want to be able to provide that feedback. The second one, I think it may be helpful. I think so. The third one, I really want to hear more about this feature that you're talking about. And then fourth, and this is totally okay if you choose it, no, not really. I'm not really interested in providing some feedback on that. So I'm going to give you guys a minute or so to fill out that poll question. And as a reminder, the poll should show up on the right-hand side of your screen. You can go ahead and click whichever selection you'd like, and then I will share with the group where we're at here. Bet you guys didn't think that this was going to be a participatory training session, but I do have a few questions for you because I want to get your opinion on some of these enhancements. All right. Right, you got a few more minutes there or excuse me, a few more seconds there to finish out your poll. You got 20 more seconds. All right, so let's see what we have. Let's see how we fell as a group here. All right, so you should be able to see the poll results now. We have 32% of us said definitely, absolutely, which is great. 18% of us saying, that feature may be helpful, that's good. And I think I need to hear more. 21% of you, that's fantastic because that's why we're here in the class today. So, and 2% of you that said not really, that's totally fine. If this isn't a feature that is interesting to you, it's 100% optional, and we're going to talk about that here in just a second. So thank you guys so much for participating. I have one more question for you later on, so be prepared for that. So let's go ahead and go into the meat and bones of this customer survey. So really the ISO is enabling the functionality to allow you, city users, to complete a survey for each inquiry ticket once the case status has been set to resolved pending validation. And that's the important part to remember. It needs to be in that status for you to get that survey prompt. So essentially, this is giving you the ability to rate us, to rate our response to those submitted tickets. And you're going to be able to do that in 2 areas. The first one being satisfaction. How satisfied are you with that response to the ticket? And the second one being timeliness. We get to that ticket in a timely manner. I do want to provide some additional information here because it only applies to certain types of tickets. So right now, there are 6 types of tickets that you can submit. You're designating this ticket type when you submit a ticket. And so these 4 ticket types will prompt that survey when that status comes up. An inquiry ticket, an RC ticket, an onboarding or maintenance ticket, and a negotiated rate application ticket. Now, if you select these 2 types of tickets, you will not get the survey prompt, which is an application access request case submission or a settlement dispute. Now, if you happen to select the incorrect ticket type, you of course want to contact your customer service representative. We can either get that changed or ask you to resubmit the ticket. But just a heads up, I don't want you to be surprised if you submit a settlement dispute ticket and you don't get that survey prompt at the end of that ticket. All right, so let's go ahead and look through some screenshots so you know what this new survey is going to look like. So we're looking at a ticket here that is resolved. It's pending validation. As I mentioned, it's that specific status, okay? And the way that you're going to start prompting the survey is you're going to click the Accept Decline Resolution button. So you click that blue button there. This should be a usual process for you, okay? And One thing to note, though, the survey only appears when you accept the resolution, right? You have those two options, I accept, I decline. If you decline it, that status is changed back to assigned and the ticket goes back to the ISO for review. So a heads up, you know, that ticket process is getting wrapped up only when you're accepting the resolution. If you decline it, you won't get it. It'll go back to the ISO. And then when it comes back to you again, that's when you can complete the survey. All right, so where is the survey going to be located? You probably recognize the top half of this box here, which is the accept decline resolution box. And the survey is now going to show right below that response field. Okay, and it'll be on every single box, provided it's the correct ticket type. As you can see there, that's what the survey is going to look like. So let's break that down a little bit more. You're going to have two different areas to respond to. The first one being, as I mentioned, satisfaction. That's rated on a scale of 1 to 5. 1 being the least satisfied. This was not what I asked. I'm very unhappy with this resolution. And 5, which of course we always hope that you select, is most satisfied. You guys did a great job. There's nothing more I could have asked for. The second option you have is with regards to timeliness. And this is just a yes or no answer. So was this resolution provided to you in a timely manner? Yes or no? And the third piece you have on that customer survey are some additional comments. We love additional comments. It helps us drill down, especially if you say less than a 5 on your satisfaction. We want to know why. What is it that prompted you to select that lower score? And so please place some additional comments in that corresponding text box. And as a reminder, make sure to select save, because that save is what sends the survey off to the ISO. Lastly, some additional information about customer surveys. As I mentioned, responding to the survey is not required to close a ticket. You can accept the resolution, you can put your response in, and you can completely ignore that survey information if that's what you choose to do, okay? But I do want to mention you still have to have a response to the acceptance or rejection of the ticket. You just don't have to fill out the survey information. Also, you're not going to be able to see your survey responses after they are submitted. They're not attached to the ticket. That's just for so that they can remain anonymous. Of course, we know who you are, but we don't want everyone who's looking at that ticket to see your responses. You won't be able to see them. But if you close the ticket and you don't fill out the survey and you go, you know what, I really wanted to fill out that survey, or I need to make changes to my responses, you can go ahead and contact your customer service representative and they can reopen that ticket for you. All right, so that is the main information regarding our customer survey. I took you through some information. I took you through what it looks like. And now I want to open this up for questions before we talk about the additional enhancements. So I did see one question already in the chat. Why is this survey not available for a regular dispute? I'm thinking, Larissa, that you're talking about a settlement dispute, and I'm going to open that up to Mo. Mo, do you want to provide some additional information with regards to why this survey is not currently available for a settlement dispute ticket?
Absolutely. Thank you for that question. So we do have a separate enhancement to improve that process. This is something that we're currently working on at the moment to collect all the requirements. It will be an option for participants to provide their feedback once they have received the resolution. So this, again, is going to be a separate enhancement, but there will be more information forthcoming later on. So thank you for that question.
Yeah, thanks, Mo. All right, so that's the only chat I've seen in the chat box so far. Oh, another one just came up. Is this survey available to anyone who can update the city ticket or just the originator? Ooh, Jose, that's a really great idea, or really great question. And I believe it's to anyone who is able to resolve the ticket. But I want to confirm with Mo. Mo, isn't that correct?
I believe the survey will be available to the person. Correct. So the person that submitted the ticket, it'll come back in their queue for them to go in there and complete the survey. So it will be whoever submits the ticket will get that option to complete the survey.
Great, thanks, Mo. All right, so we can also take any verbal questions. Don't forget to unmute yourself. If you have any questions at this time, go ahead and ask them. All right, Rodney, do we have any hands raised? I just want to double check before we move on.
I see no hands currently and no additional questions in the chat box.
Thank you so much, Rodney. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and move on to our second enhancement, but if you do have questions regarding this survey later on that you think of, you can always ask those questions. All right, let's talk about the new Provide Client Response button. It got moved, it got a color change, and there's some additional functionality that comes with that button. All right, so as I did before, I want to ask you guys a poll here. Give me just a second, and I'm going to go ahead and open that up for you. All right, you should now see the poll over on your right-hand side. So I want to know, have you ever added information to a ticket that was awaiting your response and completely forgot to change the ticket status so that the ISO knew that you added that information? So your options here are, no way, I always remember to change the status. I don't think I've done that you know of. C, I'm not really sure, but it's definitely possible that I've done that before. Or, and this is again totally okay because this is what we're here to talk about, yep, I'm guilty, I've totally done that before. So I want to get a sense of where are you guys at with changing your ticket statuses when you've added additional information to a ticket. Let's see what we have here. All right, we're getting some responses in. Here we go, great. All right, so we're gonna give you a couple more seconds to finish up if you haven't responded already. Go ahead and fill that out. And then we'll take a look. All right, so here is where we fell. 2% of us, no way, I always remember to change the ticket status. I'm gonna give you guys kudos because I don't think I can say that I've ever done this before. But the good news is this enhancement is gonna help you and it's gonna help everybody else in this list. Specifically the 16% that said, I don't think I've done this before, but that's okay. Or the 24% of you that said, I'm not really sure, but it's definitely possible. And then thank you for self-identifying the 11 of you that said, yep, I'm guilty, I've done this before. This enhancement is for you. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. All right, so currently, the way that CIDI is set up is when a case status is in an awaiting client response mode or status, CIDI users, you guys, can enter a comment, attach something without clicking that Provide Client's Response button. And what that does is that leaves the case status unchanged, which means the ISO is not aware of the new comments and thus is waiting on you to do more things, and we don't know that we should go in and resolve the ticket. So this is a huge issue, right? If you forget to change that status, the ISO can't resolve your ticket for you. So moving forward, when a ticket is in that awaiting client response status, customers are only able to submit a comment or an attachment by clicking the Provide Client Response button, okay? So that Add Comment button is gone. You can only provide a client response, and what that does is it automatically changes the ticket to assigned. So you don't have to worry about adding a comment and then remembering to change the status. What this enhancement is going to do is really prevent external users from providing a response or attaching a document and not changing the status. It's as easy as that. It does it automatically for you. And it ensures that the proper channels are notified of those updates. So when you add a comment, automatically the ISO gets notified that that ticket's ready to be reviewed. So I'm going to walk you through what this looks like. what the new screen looks like. Very simple, and then we'll stop for questions, okay? So you're going to log into CIDI, right, and then you're taking a look at the tickets that are awaiting your action. So there's that link there, view report. These are the tickets that require some comment on my end. So let's say I open that up, open up a queue, and now I'm going to go ahead and select that ticket. This is just a test ticket right here, that case number. All right, and this is the difference here. I have two screenshots for you. If a ticket is an awaiting client response status, that provide client response button that was white and at the very top of the ticket, it's no longer there. So you can see the screenshot right there at the bottom. It's empty, it's gone. It's actually at the bottom of the screen now. So what you'll see is that provide client response button has been replaced. That new comment button is gone. And you'll also see that the button is not clear anymore. It's blue and it's been moved down on the ticket. Okay. So let's say it's time for me to provide a response. I click the blue button. Remember, add comment is totally gone. I click the blue button and I'm going to go ahead and enter my response in the area. And I always like to remind everyone, save, save, save. So make sure that when you enter your comment, you click save. That's what triggers the status change. Okay, and as you can see, after you click save, the two things are going to occur. One, that case status is going to automatically be updated to assigned, as you can see here. Okay, and that case gets populated in the respective client representative queue, so you don't have to do any of that. All right, now, where did the add comments button go, though? I promise we didn't take it away completely. After the ticket status has been changed to assigned, that same provide client response button is going to actually change back to an add comment button. This is so that you can add additional comments using that button moving forward. And if you guys are at all like me, I have been guilty of this too. I've submitted comments on something, and then I realized, oh my gosh, I forgot this attachment. I forgot this extra piece of information. You don't want to have to contact customer service to send the ticket back to you. So you can add additional comments after the status has been changed. Okay, and again, as a reminder, when you're adding a new comment, you want to make sure to click save after you enter the information. Now let's talk a little bit about attachments, because attachments also trigger status changes. Let's say you don't add a comment at all. You don't click provide client response. You just go down to upload a file. If you upload a file, you can do that while the status is in awaiting client response. You can do it after it's assigned. That's totally fine. But if you upload a file and you attach it to the case, what you're going to see is you're going to get an automatic comment added to this case right here. You can see the file type was uploaded by me. I was the customer. And the status of the ticket automatically changes to assigned because that comment was automatically added. Okay, so just adding an attachment to a ticket will change the status so that it goes back to the ISO. Okay. All right, so that was kind of a lot of information. Just the main thing you want to remember here, guys, is if the ticket is in awaiting client response and you either add a comment or an attachment, it will automatically transition to assigned, and you can still continue to add attachments and comments to that ticket. Okay, so I'm going to pause here really quickly just in case you guys have questions regarding this new functionality.
I see no hands raised, and there are no current questions in the chat box.
Thanks, Rodney. All right, I'll wait a minute more just in case you guys are kind of thinking over what did I just see. Hopefully that this is something that you guys will find helpful. All right, let's go ahead and move forward to our third enhancement. This one's the smallest of the three. And again, if you have questions regarding this previous enhancement, you can ask them at any time. All right, so our third enhancement is disabling the comments when the ticket is in specific statuses. Let's talk about that. Currently, CIDI users can enter a comment after the case has been set to resolve. So either resolve pending validation or close. So what's the problem with that? Well, when that happens, the case status is left unchanged, which means that the proper channels don't know about that new comment. It can delay the resolution. It cannot get you a resolution at all. And so once a ticket is closed, right, we don't want to have additional comments be added to that ticket because the ISO doesn't know that that is getting added to the ticket. So what's the enhancement? It's right here in red. The comment section is now going to be disabled when a case status is set to either resolve pending validation or a closed state. So what do you do if you need to add comments to a ticket that are in one of those statuses? Well, either one, you can create a new ticket to report the issue, right? If the ticket is closed and you run into an issue again, you can create a new ticket. Or if it's in resolve pending validation, you can actually provide your client response and decline the resolution, because in that way the ticket gets routed back to the ISO and becomes assigned, in which case you can add comments to it, okay? So it really depends on what status it's in, whether you need to create a new ticket or decline the resolution. But just a heads up, you are not going to see that add comments button if a ticket is in either of these states, okay? All right, so that one was pretty short and simple. I did get a question through the chat, which is, when are the enhancements effective? And Mo responded, but I want to make sure to say to everyone verbally, you should be able to see these changes by tomorrow morning. So they're going to be effective that soon. The next question we have is, how come we cannot add a comment if a ticket is closed? I'm just going to go back one more so we can talk about that a little bit more. And the reason is because once the ticket is closed, I want you to think of it as that ticket has removed itself from the workflow process. So if you add a comment, that comment doesn't go back to the ISO, which means we don't know that you've added it and we're not aware of it. So we have to add a comment to a ticket that is still in that workflow process. So your two options here are create a new ticket so it can go through the workflow process, or essentially the second bullet point here, let me put my arrow, this one here, is reopen the ticket, right? We say it's done, it's resolved, and you say, no, I'm declining this resolution. It isn't resolved. I have more information to give to that ticket. What you don't want to do is resolve it and then add information to it, which is what's happening now, which is what we are removing, that option, what we're removing. So I hope, Ty, that answers your question. If that didn't, feel free to add additional information in the chat regarding your question, or you can ask it verbally. All right, so I'm going to pause here just in case we have a final question regarding these three enhancements. Okay. Oh, I have another question. What happens when the ISO automatically closes a ticket without responding and we can't open the ticket back up? Thanks for that question, Rosalind. I'm going to actually punt that one over to Monica. Mo, do you want to go ahead and see if you can answer that question for Rosalind?
Absolutely. So when the ticket automatically closes, that means that we have put the status in resolve pending validation. It stays in that status for 14 days. If the participant does not reply within that 14 days to decline the resolution, then the ticket automatically closes. Now, when it closes, however, you feel that that resolution hasn't been resolved, you have the option to reach out to client services or submit another ticket to reference the existing ticket, so that way we have background information. Does that answer your question?
All right, Rosalind, all right, great, thank you. Thanks for letting us know there in the chat. All right. Any final questions that we have over chat or verbally? All right. So as I mentioned at the beginning of the session, these slides, this slide set, and the recording of this training are actually going to get posted to our Learning Center on kaiso.com. Another thing that you'll get is you're going to receive an email from me with a link to fill out a training evaluation here shortly. I really, really want to encourage you to take a few minutes to fill out the survey. It helps us continue to improve your training experience. So you can tell me what worked for you in this training, what didn't work for you in this training, so that I can make adjustments in the future. And as always, if you have any questions on anything presented here, you can email them to the Customer Readiness Department at customerreadiness@CISO.com, or if you have questions about these enhancements specifically, you can contact your customer service representative. So with that, that concludes our webinar for today. I want to thank you all so much for your participation. I really hope that you found it useful and informative, and I want you to have a great day.